Welcome back, Insomniacs. I'm so happy to see you today, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm very happy to see you.
Overjoyed is the word I would use.
Yeah. well, I hope you enjoyed our last couple episodes. We've been very, very busy. We kind of gave ourselves 2 weeks off from the show, and now here we are back again. We got around to something that we've been wanting to do for a few months now, and anyways, let's get the giggles out. Sorry, guys. We're so shy. It's been a while. All right. Well, you know how I'm always on those horror groups on Facebook and stuff? Those horror groups?
Yup.
All right. Well, yeah, so I'm always on these horror groups, and this one guy, he was talking about, Technicolor, and I'm a big fan of, old movies,
Right.
especially old horror, so, I was chatting with him, oh, that's some cool stuff you have to say. So then he ended up privately messaging me on Facebook, and, we chatted for a bit. I didn't even know who I was talking to, but, he actually ended up being an American director named Richard Haines. Now, something we might know him off of right in the bat was, in Richard Haines' early days, he worked on editing films like Toxic Avenger for Troma. Apparently, he actually created, Nukem High. From what he told me, he doesn't really include that on his filmography because he didn't have as much creative control as he wanted, but, essentially that's his movie.
Right.
But, so, he was a work for hire, for Troma for a bit, and I guess that's where he really, got his feet off the ground. And, it's funny because he said, back then, Troma would make, a lot of hardcore porn flicks, and he would be the guy that would recut them and to make them softcore porn. But he told me a really funny story about, Lloyd's brother, Charles Kaufman. He said, he never made a horror film and all that, so... when editing was wrapping up on Mother's Day, Richard, he goes, hey, who's your sound guy for this movie? Because I guess the sound guy that would work for them normally, he moved on to some other project. So he was like, oh, well, we don't have anyone, Richard, but, if you could show us that you're able to do it, go ahead, because I guess he really wanted to. So, Richard, he ended up doing sound for this clip in the movie Mother's Day where a guy gets his head cut off. So what he did was, apparently he got an axe and a watermelon, and he literally hacked a watermelon, and he recorded must have been a nice squishy sound. But anyway, he took that clip and then he showed it to them, and I guess Charles really liked it, and he's like, all right, man, you're hired. So he got to do the sound on Mother's Day. So, it's cool that he kind of really got his start, just like a lot of people working on Troma films, thinking, I guess, to get his name out there.
Right.
But, but besides stuff he did with Troma, his own movies, in 1981 he had, I believe it was 81.
I think so.
Yeah, it was Splatter University.
First, you were frightened by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then you were terrorized by Halloween. And now, prepare to be pulverized, traumatized, and hospitalized by... Splatter You.
But it's cool because I've heard of that even from my friends. I guess it's supposed to be just a really fun, slasher flick.
Yeah.
And even from the trailer we saw, there's, partying, students and all that. But
Yeah.
it looks something like I would normally watch.
Oh, yeah,
so,
it looks awesome.
So I'm excited to check that out, but I know they even referenced it in the movie Scream, which is pretty awesome. But, so, besides that, he also has What Really Frightens You, which is his latest film. And, another cool one is he did some Technicolor one called Space Avenger. So, he has a nice variety of stuff, but, he told me a lot of information, kind of about his history working in the industry. Well, he was like, but what I'm going to do is I'll send you some notes, about, my biography, and then I'll send you What Really Frightens You on DVD, so that way we could review it for the show. And, of course, I was really thrilled that he even wanted to give us the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was really excited to take that upon us. So, Steve, we had no idea really what to expect.
Yeah, not at all.
From this. But what were your initial thoughts right when it started?
Well, right away, you, open up on this scene where it's, a dude running, and you get to see the marquee for the movie theater he runs past has the space.
Yeah, it's
the
like
Space
a little
Vendor
nod.
name on it. But he runs into this alleyway, and is met by this creature, this beautiful like creature that right away is like a standout.
And it's something it looks similar to something you might see from a Troma film.
Right.
Because the creature itself was so fucking incredible.
Oh yeah.
And there was like ooze and slime running off of it. So obviously, not knowing what to expect from an independent horror film, it sucked me right in.
Oh yeah.
I literally said to him, I was like, okay, so it's like a legitimate awesome movie. So,
Right.
You know, I was really happy to see that. So yeah, it started off with that cool creature scene. Then all of a sudden it cuts over and you see. We actually were confused at first because you was like, isn't the Ghost Rider guy? You were like, isn't that the same guy that just got killed by that creature?
Yeah, because you saw like the running scene, and then they did the credits, and then the next scene after the credits is this Ghost Rider character speaking to the boss at the magazine that he's trying to write this article for. And yeah, I was like, isn't that the guy who just died in the last scene?
Yeah, and I was so confused, especially because it was our first time seeing it. I was
Right.
like, shit, maybe it was, maybe not. But so yeah, apparently the guy in the beginning, right in the first scene that dies, he ends up going to a horror magazine, almost like Fangoria, something in that vein. And he's like, hey, I want to do a story for you guys. And the guy's like, well, what the fuck do you want to do? And he's like, oh, I want to interview people around the city and ask them what really frightens them. And then he's like, okay, why not? So yeah, this Ghost Rider guy, he goes around the city asking people, you know, what their greatest fears were. And it's funny because he specifically was interviewing older people, even though he specifically told magazine, like, don't worry, I'm not going to record, I'm not going to interview anyone over 30. Because the guy's like, our demographic is like 16 to like 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, that was funny. Like, he does go up to little girls at first, and he's like, oh, what really frightens you? And they're like, nothing scares us. And they run away. It was like, all right, fuck it. So then he just tries to interview all the adults, I guess. But how about that second guy that they interviewed? That was pretty funny.
Yeah. It's like a heavy-set, like, guy who has to be probably, like, in his 40s or something. And he goes up to him and is like, hey, you want to get interviewed for the magazine? The guy's like, what are you asking? And he's like, we're trying to figure out what really frightens you. And he's like, nobody's getting in my brain.
Yeah, he was like one of those tin foil head people. That was funny. But yeah, so it's not going to be much of a spoiler because you can read it on the box. But so yeah, this one girl is afraid of being like stripped down to her underwear in public and then somehow getting brought to a strip club and having men like grope her and attack her.
Yeah, very specifically.
Yeah, that's a very specific, bizarre fear. And then the lawyer, he worked hard to get his way out of the ghetto and like go to school and all that. And his fear is that gangsters from his neighborhood are gonna find him and like retaliate because they're jealous of his success or whatever.
Right.
And then the last guy, he works in the office, and his fear apparently is a monster under the bed. And out of those three fears, they're interesting, but obviously the whole stripping one is like really bizarre. Like, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna be in my underwear, and guys are gonna be nasty to me. Like,
well, it's like we talked about, like you hear people all the time saying like, oh, I had a bad dream where I was naked in public or whatever.
I was in my underwear at class.
Right, but it gets like so specific to be like, oh, and then they drag me into a strip club, and then when I'm in the strip club, they make me dance, and then when I dance, the guys are all like attacking me. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and apparently this is some kind of reoccurring dream she
Right.
has, and it's her greatest fear. So that was interesting. So, after everyone gets their $100 for their interview, which is crazy. They publish it, and after they publish it, things start going wrong for the people that were interviewed. Like, oh my god, what should we start with? Let's talk about, I guess the guy in the office, the one who's afraid of the monster under his bed.
Yeah.
You actually get another awesome creature feature shot because he looks under his bed and he doesn't see a monster. But then when he gets back in, a tentacle comes out of nowhere, wraps around him, and then you see like this creature's head. It was like, ah! It looked like the same one from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was.
But anyway, the creature like looks him in the face, and then the guy's like, ah! And then the creature looks at his balls and like bites his dick off.
Yeah.
And then the guy like freaks out, he's bleeding, and then like as he's getting attacked by the monster, he just like instinctively grabs onto his penis and like holds onto
Just
it
chilling
for
with it.
safekeeping for like no reason.
They did like the weird dream inception thing there, because
Yeah.
like that was a dream, and then he woke up and then went to the bathroom and was like peeing, and
Peeing blood.
Yeah, well, it looked like Mountain Dew at first, like it was super neon green.
Yeah,
like,
it was green, and then it went to like muddy, bloody.
yeah, and then he's like coughing up blood and like chokes up his tongue or
Yeah,
whatever.
his tongue just
like,
fell out.
and then that was a dream
And then,
too.
so then he dreamt about, he had a nightmare about a nightmare, and then he woke up. So, it was a little after that with the whole girlfriend scene.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, well, so yeah, that happens, and then, that was all a dream, so that, I guess that didn't really count for anything, but, I guess we'll cut to that. Eventually in the movie, there's a scene where he's with his girlfriend, and they're chatting, getting ready for bed, and then, I forget exactly what he said to her. He's like,
oh, she tells him, she's like, oh, I'm getting tired, I'm gonna turn in, and he goes, turn into what? She's like, a zombie, of course.
Oh yeah, a zombie, haha. So then what happens when he goes back to the bed? Or she pulls up the covers and she's like, I want you now. And like she opens up her chest and there's like all these guts and she's just like, oh yeah, like having an orgasm. And like it scares him. He's like, ah!
Right.
And he falls backwards out the window, of course. But as he falls out the window, in the real world, his girlfriend wakes up. It's like, ah, he's falling. And then he died.
Yeah. Which,
And, yeah.
it was weird because, like, up until that point, we had seen each of them dream, like, once.
Yeah.
And the only sign that you got was when the girl had the dream and she got pulled into that strip club or whatever.
Yeah.
And the dude, like, grabbed her leg and she had the marks on her leg still. That was the only kind of, like, dream showing up in reality thing that we had seen up until him, like, actually moving and falling out the window.
Yeah, so you were like, okay, so if his dick getting bit off happened in his nightmare, but not in real life, and then his tongue fell out, but not in real life, he fell out of the window in his nightmare and in real life that time. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's hard to follow the laws and rules, but I guess there are no strict rules.
Right.
But yeah, it was interesting how the girl, when she had her nightmare, she still had the marks on her leg. I could have sworn they were gonna show the attorneys like.
Yeah, it was weird because it's not like he had a mark, but like after it happened, he kept like rubbing on
Yeah.
his throat the whole time.
Yeah, so again, the guy had his whole getting dick bit off dream, and then his girlfriend turned into a zombie dream. The girl had a nightmare where she got, she was in public naked and she got pulled into a strip club. And then the attorney that came out from the ghetto, he had like a nightmare that he was walking through the neighborhood and like these gangsters went up to him and like slit his throat.
Yeah.
So, but it got really goofy. So after all of that stuff happens, they realize like, oh, we gotta find the ghostwriter because he must be behind all this stuff that's happening. Like even the girl with her stripper dream, she got so upset she got the attorney to represent her case to be like, we're gonna sue the magazine because I've been having hallucinations ever since the interview. Not like I know how you could even do that.
Right.
But it was weird. So yeah, the one guy who saw his zombie girlfriend, he fell out the window and died. Then the girl, she ended up in her clothes again, right? Her underclothes again, and then she ran away and got hit. Oh no, she was watching herself on a TV.
Yeah, that was super weird.
Yeah, so towards the end, anyway, she's watching herself on a TV with that whole stripping clothes thing happening. And then, of course, the ghostwriter guy's being a creep and chasing her. And then she gets hit by a truck. And the guy who came out of the truck, I'm pretty damn sure that was Richard Haines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the guy who ran her over and killed her.
It was weird. I thought that early in the movie we had got like her little premonition of like getting hit by that truck because that's what caused her to like run out of the bar. But she was the only one that we saw that for. Neither of the other ones had any sort of like premonition or like feeling.
And even if you would think the premonition would just be her getting hit by a truck, not her sitting in a room watching her on TV.
Right.
Like, what? I'm still confused by it.
Yeah, it was weird.
But so let's cut to, I guess, like the finale. The attorney, he's like the last guy standing. I guess he starts going after the ghostwriter because he sees him outside his house and he chases him. He has to face like the gangster zombies the gangsters that are now zombies. He has to face them again, and he just hits them with a bat and it takes them out. For some reason, who ran up to him? That made no sense, or at least to us.
Oh yeah, the girlfriend of like the office worker dude who did the whole like I'm gonna be a zombie thing. Like she just randomly popped up into this guy's
And she's
reality.
like, I want you now.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is she approaching the attorney? He doesn't even know about her or like ever seen her.
Right. And then I said to you like everybody else who he was dealing with in that were like dead people, but she's not dead. I don't think she died.
Yeah, she didn't die. Like it was just a hallucination.
Yeah.
So why is she showing up as a dead person? Like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
confusing.
A lot of questions.
But something I'm gonna say and urge is, this is a psychological horror film. Like, if you've seen Jacob's Ladder, it's something like that where it really fucks with your head. And even Jacob's Ladder, to this day, I'm wondering, like, well, how did that happen if this happened? Well, same thing with this movie. I'm trying to make sense of this.
Right.
Obviously, it's a horror film, so you don't need to make too much sense of it, but it's fun trying to figure out, with Richard Haines' mind, like, how does this all work out?
Yeah.
But it was interesting, but the highlights for me was the creature features.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, the
definitely.
creature effects, but, in the beginning, we saw that creature twice, and then we saw one that looked just like it at the end, but, it had wings. So
Yeah,
it
I'm
looked a
not
little
sure if
different,
it
but
was
similar.
like the same or like a evolved like variation. Like we didn't really get enough context to know.
And we want to know who is that creature. 'cause
Right.
At the end of the movie, the attorney, he finally kills the ghostwriter guy, who was already dead, though.
Yeah.
Because he dies right in the beginning. But anyway, he cuts off his head, and then the severed head's like, ha ha. The guy's like, who are you? And then the ghostwriter goes, oh, you'll find out soon. So then, after that shit, the attorney, it's like he's going back home, and right when he opens up the front door, he turns around, and there's this gargoyle thing randomly just out there. It flies at him, like, ah! And then it cuts, and then that's the end of the movie. I was like, okay, so was that the ghostwriter? Like, was he being possessed by that demon creature?
Right.
But yeah, what the hell is that creature?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd like to know though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely cool.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it was supposed to be like the frightening demon or whatever. Didn't he say there was a funny joke in the beginning that you liked?
Oh yeah, like one of my favorite like kind of dumb jokes where they're looking at the ghostwriter. We don't know that that's him yet. Like right after he dies in that alley, the cops are looking at his body, and the one cop's like, "Oh, it looks like he's been frightened to death." And the other cop looks across the street at the gas station and goes, "Yeah, must have seen the prices on the pumps."
Oh god, yeah, that was definitely a dad joke.
Yeah, dude.
But I thought it was awesome. Like I said, my favorite parts was seeing the creatures. The practical effects were awesome. Very very psychological. And like I said, now that we saw a newer one, I can't wait to go backward and see
yeah.
like Splatter University. I know he also wrote What Really Frightens You 2, TOO.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's a book. I'm not sure if it's a sequel or just like a companion to the movie.
Right.
And then What Really Frightens You 3, I believe, just came out this Halloween.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, because he does books too. So it was cool. We got to see his roots, how he started in Trauma, and then he pretty much went on to be a competitor to them afterward with his company New Wave Film. But it was awesome getting a whole little retrospective. And even if you want to learn more about him and like the process of filmmaking and Technicolor, he has a lot of cool videos out there.
Oh, yeah.
Something I really liked is he sent us some materials to review, but he actually was on the Entertainment Tonight show with what?
Oh, Leonard Maltin.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if you want to recreate those vivid colors, it takes a trip to China. Leonard Maltin has the details on all this for us. Leonard.
Well, John, I'm a big fan of those old Technicolor movies from the 30s and 40s. They used to call the process glorious Technicolor back then, and it was rich and vivid and fun to watch. Well, in the 1970s, the Technicolor company decided to change that process to one that was faster and more economical. And they sold their patented system to a lab in mainland China. It's bright and rich, like an old Hollywood movie. That's because director and co-producer Richard Haines went all the way to Beijing to make his prints.
Well, it looks beautiful. Extremely vivid colors. It looks basically like a James Bond film from the 60s. Very saturated, vivid colors.
And it's cool because apparently before he even had that show, he was teaching Richard Haines. He was his professor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, like how cool that he got to be taught by him and then he went on to be on his show. But yeah, it's really cool. So, and again, I'm glad that he gave us the opportunity
Yeah, definitely.
to be able to, get his movie out there and get to chat about him a bit. And anyone else out there, if you're an independent horror filmmaker and you want us to review your stuff, just send it out and we'll do it. So, I'm really glad we finally got around to it. Can't wait to check out his other films.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just glad that I got to meet the guy. He was really cool to chat with on Facebook. Can't wait to finish this episode and send it over to him. So, yeah, that was awesome. Great guy to work with. Any closing thoughts on the movie or anything that we learned today?
I mean, I think we hit it all pretty well. Like, I thought it was definitely really interesting. I love all the, like, psychological, like, shit that isn't just, like, yeah, here's everything laid out for you. Like, I like to try and have to, like, figure some shit out and stuff.
And make sure you're in the mood for a psychological horror
Yeah.
film. Like, if you want something just fun and having a party time, that's probably more of Splatter University.
Right.
From what it seems like, this is more of the sit down and think. That's what Really Frightens You is.
Right.
And it's cool, and the concept is cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, can't wait to see what you guys think if you check it out. And make sure you check out all of Richard Haines' other awesome stuff. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff that you can check out online with interviews and stuff. But thank you again, Richard Haines. It was a pleasure having you on Never Sleep Again TV. I guess that's going to wrap up this episode. Kurious Cyclopes.
And Steve.
Thank you for watching Never Sleep Again TV. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.